On today's show, I got Chris with me. We're going to talk about the next 8 teams in the NFL draft. We're going over the Bengals, the Seahawks, Bucks. We got a lot of teams to talk about. So if you are wondering what we think these teams should be doing this offseason, stay tuned because here we go.
Welcome to the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast.
What's going on, everybody? This is Matt High. And that is Chris Felice. We are the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Happy to be back with you today. We got a fun episode to talk about. We're going to come out hot. So, Chris, I think we should just get right down to it, right into the nitty gritty. What do you say?
I concur. Let's do it.
All right. Today, we're talking about the next 8 teams in the NFL draft order. These are basically playoff bubble teams and the first round wild card losers. So first, it's fitting for this podcast for a couple of players on this team, but we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is where I think the entire fantasy football offseason and even NFL offseason starts. Because where does T. Higgins go? That is the very first topic I want to talk about. So, Chris, what do you think the percentage odds are that he stays a Bengal? And where, if not, what team do you think he ends up with?
We're talking T. Higgins, right?
T. Higgins, my boy T.
Yeah. So this is a little rough, okay? There's a lot of variables here. I think the percentage that he stays Bengal as of right now is 65%. I'm going to give it, and I have a reason for this.
Yeah, that's higher than I thought you were going to go. I thought you were on the other side.
So I have a weird thought process behind this, okay? The Bengals, like themselves, they made that one insane miracle run to the Super Bowl. Of course, they had lost, but obviously the entire city and the state really benefited from Cincinnati going there. I mean, they had that whole commercial playing during the Super Bowl. Obviously, they want to go back there, and I think that the team itself realizes now that they cannot tunnel into one part of the team and ignore the rest like they've been doing. The Bengals seem to be masters of fix this part but neglect everything else, right? Which has kind of been the trend. I feel like they got lucky on the Super Bowl run where their defense was really not the best. The line was not the best. Their defense was fine, and the offense was firing on all cylinders. Now it's just the offense, right? Of course, there's a lot of other holes here, and however, I think my hope, personally, the Bengals sign T. Higgins, re-sign him. They bring in some defensive help because they so desperately need it. Whether it's in the draft or free agency, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay. Same thing on the line side. Okay. That's it. If they don't sign T. Higgins, I actually don't think it's the end of the world. I'm going to be honest. But not getting anything for the line and also the defense is going to be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I got a stat I want to bring up here because I did not know this until I looked at it. I stumbled upon it. So looking at, I got my stats over here. Looking at Jamar Chase this past season, wide receiver 1 in fantasy football, averaged about just shy of 20 fantasy points per game, which is crazy. It was a lot. Do you know who number 2 is in points per game? Fantasy points.
No, I don't.
That would be T. Higgins, his teammate. So he was at 16.4. The next person, Justin Jefferson at 16.1. So the problem with T. Higgins is always just that he doesn't know how to stay healthy. That is really it. If it wasn't for his health concerns, there's no doubt he would be one of the best wide receivers in football, especially for fantasy football. So I think that's the main concern with him. But there's also a guy, Chase Brown, that a lot of people in the Dynasty community are hot and bothered with right now, because rightfully so, because he finished the season extremely well. But do you think this team drafts a running back? Because I'm in the mindset that I do believe they take a running back, because I think that's what they're going to do, because teams like this in the offense, when it's firing on all cylinders like that, you could be just a running back away. I know they have a ton of holes on defense, but I don't know how they're going to be able to fill those, because they don't have the most cap space. They're kind of like middle, just towards the top, some more middle. They're 12th right now in available cap space, according to Spot Track. So it's kind of, we'll have to wait and see, but I kind of feel like they're going to have to give him some competition, even just because they can't give him 95% of the work like they ended up doing. What are your thoughts on Chase Brown? Is he a first round running back in redraft next year?
No.
You don't think so?
Huh? No, I don't think so. Maybe second round.
Yeah, I would say his floor is probably going to be the second round in ADP.
Maybe somewhere around there, but it's tough for me to even comment on that. Like, I get what you're saying. I understand. However, the needs on the line and defense are just so exponentially greater that I don't care about the run. Like, if I'm on the management of that team and someone tells me, "Hey, are we drafting a running back in like the second round of the draft?" and I'm looking at him and I go, "Are you out of your mind?" It's like, I just watched my entire team die on two separate angles. We're not doing this right now. Okay. We're fixing the problems because clearly the quarterback can do it with whoever is there. All right. So yeah. I'm gonna go with no. I think Chase Brown will be fine. I don't think they're gonna draft a quarterback. Or sorry, running back. Maybe like a late round running back at fifth, sixth round.
Gotcha.
Sure, maybe, but I don't anticipate a draft in the running back by the Bengals anytime early on.
I think it would be a mistake, but I also feel like the Bengals make mistakes in the draft. So I know Jamar Chase has been awesome, but that Penny Sewell guy that went elsewhere, that might have been a good play to keep your quarterback healthy.
But well, in fairness to them, it did get him to a Super Bowl.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did. But it's just crazy. But moving on here, next team is the Seattle Seahawks. Finished 10-7. This team just fired their offensive coordinator. Grub experience is gone. So with that, Jackson Smith-Njigba is basically the main talking point here. We saw, if you were patient enough with him in Dynasty, because I know at the beginning of the year, people were panicking with him because he didn't have the best rookie season, but he also didn't have the worst. And a lot of times you got to give a little bit of patience with these guys. He was in his situation. He had DK Metcalf he was competing for targets with, and Tyler Lockett. Now, midway through the season, Tyler Lockett seemed to take a complete backseat to Jackson Smith-Njigba. He became the number one wide receiver in the Seattle Seahawks offense. There are rumors, I don't know if you've heard of them, about them shopping DK Metcalf. Now, for JSN's future, would you prefer DK be on the team or elsewhere? Leaving, maybe a consolidation of targets and such.
It depends. So I have heard the rumors, but I really only heard it from like one or two places, and I don't know how serious that is. But in the hypothetical situation, I think I'd prefer him on the Seahawks. Plenty of times we've seen unless if that wide receiver is him, which all credit due to JSN, he is a good player. He's not him. He is not Justin Jefferson levels of separation. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think JSN is a very, very well-rounded wide receiver. He's not going to be like the red zone jump ball type guy, but
exactly.
I mean, an alpha wide receiver, I would put JSN in that category because his separation is very good.
The point I'm trying to make here is that wide receiver, in general will always benefit from having multiple uh good options in front
Jamar
of them.
Chase, T. Higgins, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. Um, at one point, maybe not this past year, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the thought here, like, would it probably help him fantasy wise? Maybe that would be like the actual test for him if he can actually do it. Right? It'd be a test. You wouldn't
Mhm.
know for sure, but I'd feel really safe if he did stay. Um, and there was some sort of split. I don't know what that split looks like, but I think for now I'd prefer if DK were to be on the team still.
Yeah, I think it opens things up a little bit. I was pretty high on DK Metcalf last year, heading into the draft season, into the season really. And he just didn't really pay off for some reason. He started out pretty good, got injured, and then just never was the same again. But Jackson Smith and Jigba is one of these players that if you were able to acquire him, because I mean, we had people in our leagues, acquire him for very little at points before the big breakout. And at this point, like I feel like he's in my top 12 in Dynasty because I think he's going to be that good. He's such an excellent route runner. He gets separation. He's really good with his hands, and he's just you throw him the ball and good things happen. And I don't care what offensive coordinator is there, you're going to see that and be like, all right, yeah, we got to get more targets to this guy. So I think JSN, it's not done. I think his ceiling has not been reached yet. I think he could be even better this upcoming season. But what about the running backs?
Yeah, so
Don't hate on
that's
my Charbonnet.
so you were saying that like the JSN is like the most polarizing topic. I disagree. I actually think the wide receivers is the least exciting topic in regards to the Seahawks because that's the point that's like okay, you might know what's going on there. Running backs and quarterback, in my opinion, is where things get really like spicy. What are they going to do at running back? What happens there? And especially, how are they going to navigate the quarterback thought? Right? Final year in the contract for Geno Smith. Do you make an attempt to draft a quarterback now? Do you sign someone else? Do you keep Geno on the final year and let him keep going? I I I think it's a very interesting thought process here. And going back to these running backs here, who takes the number one? Who takes the back seat? What happens then? Where does the other one go? Do they get traded? What do you think? I know what you're going to say for running back. We'll go ahead and say it. But then, what do you think about the quarterback situation?
So for the running back, I think it's still Ken Walker. I still think it's his team. He's going to be the number one running back on this team. Charbonnet, I think, is going to take a little bit more work than he did the previous season away from him. But, I mean, Charbonnet is a very capable running back. He's someone I really liked heading into the draft season. And it just kind of stung that he went to a place that had a very solid running back already. Darn you, Seahawks. But for the quarterback, I think it depends on how Geno does this year. I think they're going to play out the year with him, looking for a contract extension and just kind of tell him, all right, go out, show me what we should pay you. And if he doesn't pay off, I don't think they gamble and make any moves this year in the draft. They could look at a later quarterback just to kind of see. I mean, Jalen Hurts, let's not forget him. He was a later round quarterback. So I think there are teams out there and players in this draft that might get a couple looks for the Seahawks, but I don't anticipate any crazy trade up scenarios with them. They could be in the sweepstakes for like a Justin Fields or someone like that, just to kind of kick the tires and get another person behind Geno Smith because we've said it for the past year. The main problem with the Seahawks is they can't protect Geno Smith. When the few times they were able to protect him, he's a very good quarterback for the NFL, and he delivers. I mean, he at portions at the beginning of last year, let's not forget, Geno Smith led the entire league in passing yards. Like that happened. And he just had really bad touchdown luck. So that's in the realm of outcomes. So if you get a team like that, and it's kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just they need an offensive line to protect him. And if they get that, I mean, all these guys are going to be very, very fantasy relevant, and we're going to be looking at them and wondering why we didn't draft them higher. Speaking of potential dirty team, let's check out Dr. Squatch ad right here. Fellas, let's talk about game day rituals. You set your lineups, you get your go-to snacks, and you find a spot on the couch right in front of the big screen. But if you smell worse than a locker room after overtime, you're already taking the L. That's why we're teaming up with Dr. Squatch to keep you smelling like a first-round pick. Dr. Squatch's all-natural soaps will help you feel fresher than a rookie with 4.3 speed. And right now, you can get $10 off a purchase of $20 or more. All I got to do is click the link in the show notes below. Don't fumble this deal. Head to drsquatch.com to upgrade your shower game today. Dr. Squatch, because winning your league is great, but smelling like a champion is even better. All right, next team here is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield was a revelation this year. He was awesome. I know the main thing this year now is they just lost their offensive coordinator. That is 8 new offensive coordinators for Baker Mayfield in his career of about 8 years.
You could say he has some experience.
Yeah, he's got experience with people changing things on him all the time. So the main talking point on this team, I think, Bucky Irving became the dude. If you had him, he really helped you out in the fantasy playoffs in the second half of the year for sure. Chris Godwin, is he part of the team? What condition is Mike Evans in? Is he going to do it again? Another, consecutive 1,000-yard season. Jalen McMillions came on this year. Where do you see this team? Like, do you think they could be a major playoff push team next year? Like, what moves would you make if you were the Bucs GM?
Okay, all right. All right,
Put the GM cap on here.
I am now the Buccaneers GM, and this is what I'm going to tell you to do. First off, you're going to let Chris Godwin walk. I don't like that guy. Why? I don't know. I've decided it. Mike Evans, final year in the 2025 contract. Final year on his contract, ends in 2025. Bad English, doesn't matter. Jalen McMillions, good player, solid player. Did it inspire the full confidence in me yet? No, but it's getting there. So I'm drafting a wide receiver, a young wide receiver. Okay, that's my target. In the lieu of Chris Godwin going away, I would like the young wide receiver. That way, also when Mike Evans eventually is not on the team anymore, because he's getting up there, he will probably retire as a Buccaneer, if I'm going to be honest, probably at the end of next year. I think that's the thought process. If he gets another contract for a year, so be it. But in lieu of that, drafting wide receiver now not only gets you competition, but also prepares you for that fallout because you still have Jalen McMillan. Moving on from there, their line was fine. Their defense was fine. So you know what I say? And I mean, Baker Mayfield was fantastic. So as long as you upgrade a wide receiver in the draft, you turn the two fine things into even better than fine things. You might even end up with one really great thing and one good thing. And if you do that, that's pretty fantastic. That's what I would do if I was the Buccaneers GM.
Yeah, I don't know if they keep Chris Godwin. I know he wants to be part of the team, and I think the team wants him back. It just depends on, with his injury history and just the way this team needs to function. He was really good. He was actually looking at points per game, fantasy points per game, he was up there. He was at 16.1. He was on fire. It just and then he got injured. It just didn't matter anymore. So it was an unfortunate time to get injured, and I think that's gonna end up pushing him to another team. But I could see a team like the Rams or something being interested in him with the news surrounding Cooper Kupp. So I think the running backs is pretty simple. Bucky's the one. Rashad White is going to be that pretty solid flex
Oh,
RB2.
you're a fool.
I think I'm still fine. I think Rashad White will still have his value. He's just not going to be the same. But I do think he'll still have value because if Bucky gets injured, and let's be honest, Bucky did get injured.
I will say that they should not change how they ran it this year. There should be like very close 55, 45 split between the running backs. Maybe rotate it in tandem, and I think utilizing Rashad White as a pass catching back is fantastic. Do not try anything fancy. It worked really well. Keep doing it. Please. It'll not only keep longevity of both backs because it makes it unpredictable. You're not running both of them into the ground, right? It generates fantastic value on the field.
Yeah, it reminds me. It's like a Lions backfield light version. Having two guys who are capable. One has more passing down specialty. The other is more of a grinder. I think that fits very well for both of them, and I think they both play well in this team.
I would argue. Actually, I'll make the prediction that in this year, I assume that in that comparison, David Montgomery is Bucky Irving and Jahmyr Gibbs is Rashad White. I will say that Bucky Irving is the better David Montgomery, and I will say that Jahmyr Gibbs is better than Rashad White.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think unfortunately Rashad White's just so. I'm sorry, Jahmyr Gibbs is just so much better that it kind of eclipses that. Yeah. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. It is just that backfield light.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it works. So having a two running back system seems to be the way that NFL teams are looking at, and we used to be so afraid, like, oh, we want a bell cow running back. Now it's like, I just want a good one, and that seems to be it didn't matter with him. Moving on here, we got the Denver Broncos. Now, Bo Nix, I think, is a real deal. He looked good. The wide receivers are very young. It's a very, very young group of wideouts. Their big thing is they need a running back because I don't know what happened to Javonte. I mean, I guess the injuries really caught up to him, but he is a shell of what he was coming out. That first injury basically just somewhat deleted the next couple of years of his career because he doesn't look very spry. He doesn't look explosive anymore. I don't know what they need to really do. And I don't care about the other running backs on that team. So this is a team, like, you're on Ashton Genty watch. If this would be the team that jumps ahead of someone to get him, because I think he would bring a dynamic to this team that Sean Payton wants. He just hasn't had the personnel. So I think a running back is definitely going here. It just depends on if it's a first round running back, which could be, or if it's definitely going to be a day two running back at minimum. If not, I'd be shocked. So I don't think the free agents are that great this year either. What are your thoughts on the Broncos?
I think they're a fantastic team. I agree with you. There's a lot of question marks regarding the running back position. That wide receiver core is very young. However, it's Sean Payton. He's going to draft wide receiver. In the first, he is. He's going to draft the wide receiver. Guy's nuts, completely off his rocker, and he's going to do it without a doubt in my mind. I don't like he's going to draft so he's got Vele, Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, and he's going to add a fourth guy to the mix. for fun.
You forgot Mims.
I
Marvin,
did.
man. Marvin Mims.
Yeah.
Guy we've been
Anyway,
waiting for, and he's hated for 2
I've
years.
been waiting for it's gonna be his year. Kyle
Yeah.
Pitts 1.0.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my I that's kind of like where I'm thinking in the Sean Payton mindset. Um, I also think he'll draft a tight end because he really,
Yeah.
really, really wants to find
That was going to be my next thing. Running
a
back
good
tight end.
tight end. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also B, he loves his sweet, sweet Taysom Hill and would love to replicate that in any way, shape, or form. I know he would. That last part was mostly a joke, but the tight end is actually a need.
Let's pour one out for
that
Taysom.
he-
Taysom Mountain. No longer. He's been reduced to rubble. But yeah, we'll see. Next team here, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't know what they do at quarterback. I've heard rumors where they're going to re-sign Justin Fields. I've heard rumors where they're going to re-sign Russell Wilson. I don't think either one of those is the best option for them. Justin Fields is a decent quarterback, and maybe decent's probably not the right word. He's an okay quarterback, but Russell Wilson is an experienced quarterback that can pass the ball. We saw that, but for me, what do you do with George Pickens? Like, George Pickens is the guy that
what a way to pivot.
He has all the talent in the world, but just doesn't have the quarterback play. He was much better with Russ. Without a doubt. He was much better with Russ. But still, he's kind of he's been a thorn in the side of Mike Tomlin for sure, because Mike Tomlin has a lot of patience for his wide receivers, and hats off to the Steelers organization for being able to find these talented wide receivers, but also find the guys that are just like Looney Tunes sometimes and just kind of create extra mayhem off the field. So they're all great. They're all great wide receivers. I mean, Chase Claypool was a very good wide receiver. He just kind of was an idiot.
Yeah.
He was kind of an idiot. Antonio Brown,
I
Juju.
still remember the celebration after the
yeah.
down, seconds winding down into the game that was in the side. I still remember that.
A lot of people are going to remember that for a very, very long time. But George Pickens, man, how do you view him? Is he a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy, or is he should you be putting him lower? I've seen a lot, but I never really liked him as much just because he was more of a jump ball guy, and the way I kind of try to build my rosters, I'd prefer guys that are better at route running, getting separation, because if you get separation, you can get the ball easier. If you're double covered every time, or jump ball 50-50 balls, that it's not as predictable. Like, you could be the best 50-50 ball player in the world, but if I'm a quarterback and I'm looking at a wide open dude right in the middle of the field, or you 50 yards down with a defender on your back, guess what? I'm going to the short dude right in front of me, because easy yards, easy target, keep the ball moving. I'm going to take a risk. And that's kind of what his play style is.
Yeah, so it's tough to say. It's so tough because you don't know what the quarterback situation is. The supporting cast around George Pickens is going to be. I'm going to say that obviously you're not doing your draft right now. This is a question I don't know the answer to. There's too many moving pieces. If everything stays the same, he'll be a top 20 wide receiver. Maybe lower end on the top 20, right? Would be I think the floor. But it's tough for me to give that definitive mark because I don't know what's happening. That quarterback question is the most important thing they have to answer before I can even give any insight on the wide receivers.
Would you rather have George Pickens or Jerry Jeudy in Dynasty right now? Now stump you?
Can I get a draft pick instead?
Nah. Got to pick.
Uh,
Got to pick.
George Pickens.
Okay. All right. What about Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams, or George Pickens? I
Tyreek
feel like
Hill.
Jameson is easy.
Jameson's the easy answer.
Tyreek
Yeah.
is.
I
Well, I
think
should say.
Tyreek is like. I think Tyreek and George Pickens are very close to each other. Um, in that sense, but James, he's young enough, and like he'll if he doesn't stay on the Lions after his rookie deal, he'll dominate somewhere else.
Yeah. And then just real quick on the running back situation there, Najee. I don't know if he's going to be with the team much longer. Uh, and I don't. This is another team that I think they have holes elsewhere that they need to fill before they get a running back, but they also like to ground and pound. So I think they're going to look for the running backs in this class because there's a lot of good ones, and we're going to dive into those very, very shortly. We're looking at our rookie breakdowns this weekend and next week. We're going to have stuff coming out for you guys, but this is a draft that has all the players that Mike Tomlin really likes. These really good power backs. So it's one of those where I think Najee is not safe. He has one
Do not sit
bad.
Najee.
Yeah.
Tomlin is coming for you.
He has a couple bad games, and I think he gets the boot. Not the boot, but the bench. And then, next year. See you later.
Okay.
All right. Chargers are up next. I'm excited for this team, man. I don't know. I know we all were pretty high on Ladd McConkey. We did not see what he was doing this season. Except for Warren, he actually made his bold prediction that Ladd McConkey would finish ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., which took place.
He actually said he would be the best performing wide receiver out of the rookies.
Which I don't believe is.
I think
he was close.
I think
Brian Thomas Jr. was the best
ended
one.
up being number one, and I think Ladd was number two.
Yeah, so he was close, but so good on you, Warren. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if Ladd can be the alpha number one wide receiver that we're expecting and we want in this offense, because this is a team that I think is a running back away from changing the identity. Like last season, everyone expected this team, with Harbaugh coming in and Greg Roman I want to run the ball. That's all I want to do. That's how we win games. He won a national championship with Michigan by doing that and just running Blake Corum up the middle every single game for like 50 times. So I think this is a team that they also have Justin Herbert, who I think is a sneaky play to finish inside the top 5 quarterbacks this upcoming season, because they unleashed something with him last year. Quentin Johnston is not going to be that dude that we were kind of hoping. Maybe I was hoping he would become, because he has a little problem with dropping the ball. But so this team, I think, if T. Higgins does not re-sign with the Bengals, I think this is the team that will be one of the ones that make an aggressive offer to get him, because I think he brings a new dynamic to this team that I think they need. Ladd could be a really, really solid, a 1A, 1B type wide receiver situation, I think is what I'm expecting. This is also another team that could draft a running back like Ashton Jeanty or some of the other guys and really elevate what Harbaugh and Greg Roman want to do with this team.
Yeah, I concur. I'm excited for this team. I think it looks fine. Offensively, it worked. I agree. Quentin Johnston's definitely not the guy. If they don't sign T. Higgins or something, I expect a wide receiver to be added somewhere. I expect there to be a competition between that wide receiver and Ladd McConkey for whoever is the one during this next season. Whoever that ends up being. I anticipate that happening. The running back situation is weird because obviously they're pick 22. So the one that you want is probably not going to be there unless if you trade for it. And I don't know if you want to get super overly greedy for that. I'll be honest. I think there's like enough free agency depth. Uh, it's not great, but it's better than giving up part of your future, for somebody, unless we can get a fantastic deal. But I think I would just upgrade, find that second wide receiver. Um, maybe I think safety probably could use some work. And I think beyond that, I mean, everyone, I can always say, work on the line, but any team could work on its line, right? Um, I think beyond that, I mean, they look like a good team. I think they, it kind of sucks. They were like trying to figure themselves out, and I think they lost themselves a bit every now and then as they were kind of figuring out their identity itself. But now they're kind of, I think they're a contender, depending on what they do. I'll say it. They might be a contender.
I mean, I definitely think they are. I think they have the pieces to really do that.
And before Cooper Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can. They might be able to. He might be another player to step in and be, give them something. I think he's.
Yeah.
I don't think he's past his prime. Well, past his prime, yes, but
he's still fine.
I still think he has stuff that he can bring to an NFL team. I'm actually kind of surprised that the Rams are looking to trade him. But yeah, I mean, looking at the running backs that are free agents, it's Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert was just let go by the Dolphins. It's not a whole lot of good ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's mainly going to be like, I know Joe loves J.K. Dobbins. He did really well last year. I just don't know if we catch lightning in a bottle twice with him, just because it's hard being someone with his injury history plus aging. I feel like it's going to be difficult for him to maintain like the number one workload that he had last season. So, I mean, he could easily come back. I think they probably would like him to come back because they could probably get him a little bit cheaper than some of these other guys. But we'll kind of wait and see. Quentin Johnston again. I really don't know what to do with him. You could probably sell him. But you're gonna sell him low. I don't know if you're gonna return value, but I guess it's better to get something than nothing when he maybe has another bad year. But I mean, he did help you with portions of the season. Like, I had him, and I missed out on having the all-time record of a point if I just played him. I just needed to play him, and I didn't for obvious reasons. And my weekly score suffered from it. But next team here is the Green Bay Packers. Now, Josh Jacobs is there. They're not moving on from him. They like running the ball. He was awesome. The passing game is the main concern here. And I don't know if they have an alpha wide receiver. Christian Watson just cannot stay healthy. He's just eliminated from the field multiple times a year. And I don't know if his talent is quite what we expected. I don't know if he's the most talented person on that team. I think the Candleman, Dontavian Wicks, might have the most talent, but he also has the most drops. So I don't think that's going to work out. Just looking at his play, who would you say is the most talented wide receiver?
Jaden Reed.
He's very talented, but I do think that Dontavian Wicks, as
part of talent is catching the ball.
Well, yeah, that's
that's how the game works.
But yeah, so what do you think? Do you think this is going to be an offseason where we see a first-round wide receiver for the Packers?
It feels really weird to say that, given how many wide receivers are in that room. Right, that like the name of and their play. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. It's hard for me to say if that's gonna be the play because they don't have that many holes. They don't, in terms of like just being a fine team. Right, we're back on this topic. I think they're just fine all around. Right, they're a good football team, but they're great at nothing at the current moment, right?
I think
And
they're pretty good at running the ball. I would put
I'll
them
give you
above
that.
average
I'll
on
give you
that.
that.
I
I'll
mean,
give you.
Josh
Okay. So
Jacobs,
we'll
Matt
we'll
LaFleur is a good
slate.
coach.
Yeah. Well, no, I meant like I didn't mean the coaching. I meant like just on the field itself. So okay, we'll slate Josh Jacobs to the side. We'll say their running is great. Okay. Just their running though. But if we're looking at like the other aspects of the game, they don't strike me as like thoroughly dynamic in any which way beyond just like give Josh Jacobs the ball and hope for the best, which is kind of something you do if you have like a Saquon Barkley on your team. And as good as Josh Jacobs is, he's not Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
No one is. No
that
one is
dude's good.
Saquon Barkley. Yeah. So in regards to that, I think the first round pick. I know it's the easiest thing to say is going to be a lineman for the team. Some form of stability because I think that's where amongst all of the fine traits that they have, that's the most lacking. Um, I think working on the line, giving Jordan Love more time. They'll probably pick up a defensive end for agency. I predict a round 2 wide receiver. Uh,
That tracks. I mean, it is the
yeah,
Packers. That's usually
yeah.
what they try to
Yeah,
do. But
early round 2 wide receiver, but I think they're gonna focus on that line because I think that's where they lack most in terms of all their. But I think they're fine. That's kind of the issue. They need a really good pick somewhere to kind of blow it out of the water, and that's where I feel like you're actually gonna get it from in the line there because you're a little too far down for the offensive superstars that can kind of, shape the destiny of your team. But
yeah,
you're in a little bit of a sweet spot where you could get lucky and one of those linemen could end up being like this stud for you for his entire career.
yeah. All right, final team for this evening is the Minnesota Vikings.
Hmm.
Who's the quarterback next year? Let's just start there. 14-3 this year. Sam Darnold was awesome until he wasn't. So, who's the quarterback week 1 starting next year?
I'm going to say it. I'm going to do it. I know people are not going to like it. The answer is Sam Darnold. That is the correct answer. The correct answer is Sam Darnold. Because the last thing you need is to throw JJ McCarthy into the fire and for it to blow up in your face. Okay? Take it slow. I'm not saying he's going to start the entire season. We've seen the cracks in the Sam Darnold armor. We know he's not him. Okay? We saw in the last game of the regular season, we saw it in the playoffs. Okay? We know that this is a temporary release. But JJ McCarthy is the future, and you should treat him like such. You should have him sit behind. I mean, I give him all that flack, but 14-3 is a very, very good record. He's gonna go. So unfortunately I don't think he's going to um end up in the Vikings. I have a feeling that's not going to happen. But I would start Sam Darnold. I would get Sam Darnold back, and I would start him.
I don't know. I mean, the Jets could use a quarterback.
Yeah,
They could
so
go
could a
after
lot of
Sam
other
Darnold.
teams.
They can go for Sam Darnold.
Like the Giants, the Steelers,
There's a lot
maybe
of teams.
maybe the Rams.
I think what this year proved to me, and I originally heading into the season, I called Justin Jefferson a bust because of where he was going, and
Ed, how do you feel about
yeah,
that?
it feels kind of dumb right now.
Yeah, you do
But
feel dumb, don't you?
oh, I do. I feel really dumb. You don't
Dude,
see the egg right
how
here?
long does it take? Yeah, how long does it take to put on the makeup, the bright rainbow wig, the
About an hour.
big red nose? How long does that
I don't
take?
know.
Huh? You
It takes about an
clown.
hour. I took it off for the episode, but I should have left it on. I think what this year proved to me is that no matter who's throwing Justin Jefferson's ball, that dude's really good. I think Jordan Addison is the biggest concern for me in heading into next year because if it is JJ McCarthy, if it's not Sam Darnold, I don't know what his tendencies are. I don't think he was a deep ball thrower, and that's kind of where Jordan Addison makes his hay. So as great as it was, I mean, let's not take anything away from Jordan Addison because that dude knows ball and he came on hot a couple times. He was a force to be reckoned with, but I think where he gets his targets on the field are not going to be the things that we're going to know. We're not going to feel confident in it, at least heading into next year, if it is JJ McCarthy, because we haven't seen him on the field yet with building chemistry with these guys. Obviously, he's probably going to build chemistry with Justin Jefferson because that's how you win football games. You pepper him with targets left and right. If they don't play the same style of football, which I would be kind of surprised if they don't, being a Kevin O'Connell led team, that's the main concern. And the running back, because I don't know if they bring back Aaron Jones, because I don't think he's really shown that he's losing a step, but he is aging.
Great, but
he was above average. Yeah, he was. I would put him above average,
he was
not
good.
excellent,
He was good.
not elite. Yeah. So, with the concerns at running back, I don't know if you have the same success on the overall roster. If it is, if you have a bad running back, I mean, look at the teams that have poor running back play. Offense doesn't run as well because it limits it. It makes it a one-dimensional offense where, play action is one of the things that destroys defenses. If you don't have a guy that threatens the ball, then okay, thank you for just playing one-dimensional football, and here's our victory. So, do you think Aaron Jones gets signed again, or do you think they draft a guy this year?
I don't know. I'm gonna say yes. I'm only gonna say that because they did really well this year, and I'd like to think that if I'm the Vikings, I am in the aspiration of Super Bowl right now. As weird as that sounds,
Yeah,
because they shouldn't be. That'd be my mindset right now. I do not let your foot off the gas, right? Keep punching it in. Sign Aaron Jones year or two, whatever. Get some honestly, drafting a running back is probably also not a horrible idea to just sit behind Aaron Jones, right? Take a rep or two, learn from him. That probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. You don't need wide receiver. You definitely don't need a quarterback. Defense, good. Line, as we all know, the line could always use work. So yeah, good football team. I think that's their thought process. They should be pushing that gas pedal down. Definitely sign Aaron Jones.
All right, yeah, we'll find out in a couple weeks when free agency opens up, in March. So we got a lot coming up. We have the combine coming up at the beginning of March and of February. Then we have some rookie talk that we're going to do, and then we dive into our rookie drafts. So there's a lot of moving parts between now and when you guys do all this stuff. So we're going to have some extra shows coming out soon to go over every breakdown of all the free agents and all the rookies, so you know which guys we are really trying to target in drafts and which guys we're trying to fade away from. So stay tuned. If you could do us a huge favor, hit that like button and leave us a comment below with what you think some of these teams want. We want to hear from you. And I think that wraps it up here. So why don't we jet? And as always, good luck, have fun, and we'll see you all soon.